back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about my Penguin Classic Edition Black Spine collection. As you guys know, I'm obsessed with those editions. I just like the way they look with the black and orange. And then also a lot of times I love the covers that they pick. And then with those editions, they tend to reissue books that other publications don't, especially when it comes to Black literature. I have noticed that. Those are like the main reasons why I really love, the Penguin Classic editions, Black Spines to be specific. You guys see that shelf is dedicated to the Penguin Classic editions. This year I bought a good amount because you guys remember like earlier and within the year I was on a classic kick, so I did go in this year. But I want to share with you guys some of like the new ones I've gotten this year, and also my tried and true favorite of these editions. So let's just get started. So first, some of the new ones that I bought this year. As you guys know, again, like I said, I was on a classic kick earlier this year. That was like new for me because you guys know classics can be, I always say, a bore, but I found some that worked. First, I would say my number one pick for classics this year that I had to get a good amount of his books was D.H. Lawrence. I started out with this, Lady Chatterley's Lover, and as you can see, I tabbed it, and I also listened to this book and read it at the same time, and it was just fantastic. I think the reason why this book just gets me is it's highly sexual, but it doesn't come off as vulgar. And the fact that this book was written like in the 1900s, you have a woman that talks about her sexuality that is basically grieving for it because her husband is not able to fulfill those needs due to him being injured in the war, and she finds other avenues. And yes, after I read this book, end up of course reading about his life, watching documentaries, and they did mention his short stories, how well his short stories are. So I was able to get this edition, and these are some selected stories that he is known for. They also have some stories that he is not known for, and then I love the cover. Another favorite of mine that I read this year was Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. And this kind of gives you the vibe of like a Scarlet Letter. She was an orphan. She gets caught talking to a young man. It's kicked out, staying with the young man in like a hotel, and that's like unheard of. One thing leads to another. She gets pregnant and he just vanishes. And you see how it goes. This was so good. You can see I tabbed it to death because this had the drama and tea that I was looking for within a classic, and the fact that not a lot of people talk about this book, that was also a reason why I wanted to get it. But when I read the synopsis, I was like, you know what? It kind of gave me that Scarlet Letter, vibe, and I really like that one, a lot. So now these two I haven't read, but I cannot wait to get into them because this one, Flanders, this is a woman that she gets around, okay? She is a thief. She is a prostitute. It literally says on the back of the book, she embarks on husband hunting, incest, prostitution, pickpocketing, till our crimes eventually catch up to her. Again, I pick classics that have a lot of drama. I know I'm saying this wrong. Is it Gustave Lebert? I know he's a French writer. This is Sentimental Education. The reason why I want to get into this one is because it's dealing with an older woman and a younger man, and the younger man, he falls for like his friends, is one of his good friends. And yeah, again, drama and tea. So those were some of the newest ones that I did pick up this year. Now for my tried and true books from this edition. First is Elizabeth Kingsley, Behind the Scenes, or 30 Years a Slave and 4 Years in the White House. I love this so much because it's a slave narrative, and she was the confidant and dressmaker of Mary Todd Lincoln, who was Abraham Lincoln's wife. He just talks about obviously her life growing up as, being enslaved, and was able to, become free, and then talk about her relationship with, the Lincolns and just the ins and outs of it. And she got a lot of backlash. She also got ostracized, and, because of her publishing this book. The Lincolns said that she was airing out their dirty laundry, the son in particular, and yeah, she lost a lot because of this. Also, she lost her friendship with Mary Todd Lincoln because of it. Because Mary struggled with mental illnesses. And even the way that she talked about Lincoln's death, that I had no idea. I would recommend this so much, and it's not even long. This book is less than 170 pages. Next is The Portable 19th Century African American Women's Writers. I always go back to this because, you know, we tend to always hear and sometimes read the same, you know, authors, and the fact that these were Black women authors in the 19th century. They have some gems of like fiction writing by African American women, because, you know, a lot of times back in like the 18th, 19th centuries, a lot of the slaves, they wrote about their experience being enslaved. You don't have a lot that wrote, you know, outside their life, that wrote fictional work. And this has lists of stories and books and women that are in that league. I tell you, I have been looking for that for so many years and was able to get it from this book. And then lastly, Passing by Nella Larson. Clearly this Harlem Renaissance, that's my favorite genre of all times. And I have two of these because this one was the first one I read, and I had never read this book. I read this book about 4 years ago because the story is not like any of the stories from the Harlem Renaissance that deals with passing. In that genre, a lot of the books and the subject is talking about race, is talking about passing. But she had a different take on it, especially the ending. And there's like two interpretations of what happens at the end. If you have read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you have read it, I believe she did it. I don't believe anyone else was involved. Yeah, I don't. But I wanted to get a second copy because I love the cover of this so much. So yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to my Penguin Classic editions. Some of them, again, some new ones, some ones that are like my tried and true. I would say the next Penguin Classic edition that I want to read is probably going to be, I haven't read this book in years, and I want to read it as an adult, is Little Women by Louise May Alcott. And the reason why is I grew up watching the 1994 movie with Winona Ryder and Susan Sarandon, and who else is in there? Kristen Dunst when she's like younger. I don't like the new one that came out a couple years ago, nor do I like the old one with like Katharine Hepburn, and is that also the one with Liz Taylor? No one, in my opinion, can play Jo March like Winona Ryder, but that's just me. And then also too, the soundtrack to that film is amazing. But I do want to read this as an adult. Yeah, and I love this edition. It's so pretty. So yeah, guys, that is it for this video, and I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.